Have you ever found yourself going down the wrong path? I'll talk about that in just a minute. I had just settled in for the night. I was relaxing in my home, and I got a phone call. My daughter had been out, and some of her friends had called her. They were in a panic because they were trapped in the snow. I was a little puzzled by this because we had had a really big snowstorm, but most of the snow had been graded off the road, and I wasn't really sure how they had gotten trapped. And my daughter said, "Dad, they don't have anybody to get them out. Can you go help them?" And so I put my clothes on and got dressed for being outside, and my daughter and I went down to help them. As we turned right onto the road where they told us they had been driving, I kept looking for snow. There was some snow in the fields, and there were some snow patches here and there, but it wasn't that bad. I'm like, what are they stuck in? I couldn't figure it out. So we kept going on down the road, and it wasn't bad at all. I climbed the hill that was on the road, and it wasn't bad at all. I kept going. I went over the little bridge, and there was a little bit more snow, but it still wasn't bad. I kept going, and it still wasn't bad. And I was getting more and more puzzled as to what they could possibly be stuck in. But then the road began to gradually get worse and worse and worse. I eventually had to engage the four-wheel drive on my truck. It got so bad that I was getting concerned that I might get stuck. And I could see them finally in the distance, their taillights, in just a normal streetcar out in the middle of nowhere in the country. Now, if you know much about Illinois, and if you know the country roads between fields, they can get very treacherous with snow. It was freezing cold, and I was hitting water puddles that were flying up in the air and instantly freezing on the side of the truck. As I got closer and closer to these kids, sliding all over the road, probably in some of the worst road conditions I've ever personally driven in. It was like driving through frozen pudding and ice. It was terrible. Well, when I finally got to them, I had brought a shovel to try to maybe dig them out if it was a little bit, but I had to tell them, "Kids, there's no way I can get you out of this. I'm concerned about getting out of here myself because there's nowhere to turn around. Let me just see if we can get out of here." So they abandoned their car and they loaded up in my truck, and I had to back probably half a mile before I was finally able to find an area that I could turn around and get pointed back in the right direction. And then it was a little dicey getting out of there. Came out and the truck was covered in filth, covered in mud. It was an absolute mess. My wife wasn't particularly happy. We had to clean that up. It reminds me of sometimes we start down a road in our life. Seems like it's okay. Just this little bit of wrongdoing is not going to hurt us. But as we continue down that path, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Sometimes you have to call for somebody to help you get out of it. And that person that we call on is Jesus. Now, the bad thing about getting down a terrible road in your life is that sometimes when Jesus rescues you from that, you're still a mess. You're dealing with the consequences of your bad choices. Just like my truck was covered in filth, there were consequences to going down that road. The good news is, He redeems us and He forgives us. But sometimes we have to deal with the ramifications of our actions. So, just be careful what road you go down. Be sure of your path. Try to stay on the straight and narrow. It really teaches us a life lesson when we think about these things. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and be kind to each other.